Kilo 8 Echo Papa Sierra.
Kilo 8 station, come back slowly phonetically with your call sign.
Kilo 8 station, come back slowly phonetically with your call sign. Roger, Jim. Kilo 8 Echo Papa Sierra. The name is Eric Echo Romeo India Charlie, located near Columbus, Ohio. You're getting bombarded by Ohio today.
Yes, sir, but boy, I tell you what, your signal is just beautiful. Your audio curve is very, very nice. And what radio is that?
Curve is very, very nice. And what radio is that? I'm running a Kenwood TS-890, running about 500 watts into a quarter wave vertical. You helped me set this radio up when I first got it, and I haven't had to do much to it. It's just been wonderful. It gets great reports. I had a technical question for you that I've been wanting to ask for the last 6 weeks that's different from my setup on the audio. I was wondering, your VU meter, do you take that signal off of the accessory jack with the audio line out for that?
No, I'm coming a speaker out. I'm coming speaker out at 8 ohms, and then it comes into a what I call a trim mixer, and I have a selector switch that it goes to first, along with and it comes up on a selector switch with my my other SDRs, and then I can switch, back across 5 SDRs plus my 7300 audio out, and my audio out goes into that selector at 8 ohms. And so I just adjust the volume to match the SDRs, and then from that it comes to what I call a trim switch, a trim pot that I can ride level, and that's goes into the audio system for the video recorder. And Roger?
For the video recorder and Roger, Jim. Yeah, I was just wondering. I'm an electrical engineer, and I like to fiddle around with these things, but I just was wondering if that was coming off the accessory jack line out. What do you use as a reference voltage to be at 0 on that VU meter?
It's actually the VU meter is tied to the mixer, the house mixer. And it's sampling. You can't really push these mixers these days. So normally I would be on a professional mixer, I would be +4, but the output of this mixer I'm at 0, and that's what that calibration is. If I were to be at 4, I would have +4. I would have no headroom for mistakes, errors, and overshoots and stuff. Roger.
Overshoots and stuff, Roger. I understand. Yes, absolutely. The headroom is critical. Then for your spectrum analyzer, where do you tap in for your spectrum analyzer?
Spectrum analyzer is tied to the output of the mixer, as is a external house VU meter. They're tied to the output of the mixer also. So there you go. That's essentially the way it is. It's, of course, that's on the on a good day. on a bad day, sometimes I can't remember how I got from there to there.
On a bad day, sometimes I can't remember how I got from there to there. Being a design engineer, I absolutely understand. A month later, I think, who came up with this scheme? But anyhow, I won't tie you up, Jim. I've been trying to get in without interrupting the productivity for the audio for about 6 weeks, and I just thought I'm going to jump in and find out because the curiosity was killing me. And it sounds like you've got a heck of a mixer set up there, which I would expect a broadcast engineer to have. So I'm going to get off of here. That you've got time for 1 or 2 more people. You've helped me out. You got me a good signal, and I'll always be thankful for that. And I will wish you a good weekend coming up. I'm an old Indiana boy from south of Richmond, Indiana, so I kind of know your area too. So I will get off and let you get back to business, and thank you very profoundly. Kilo Charlie 9, DJV, this is Kilo 8, Papa Sierra, saying 73.
Roger, Roger, Eric. Well, gosh, don't run off, bud. It's a really good signal. I didn't even have a chance to see if I can find a better path for you. I was just on my PASDR. You were sounding so good there. Why don't you tell me about your antenna system, and let me look around and see if I can find a better path for us, Roger.
Let me look around and see if I can find a better path for us, Roger. Roger, Jim. Yeah, I'm running a DX antenna, quarter wave vertical. SWRs are really, really low with it. It does a great job for a vertical. For a vertical. It's not as quiet as if I had a dipole, which I will have here before long. But for now, that's what I've got, and it's what we run, and it seems to do well on DX to Europe and even into the South Pacific. So love that quarter wave vertical.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you know, I am running a resonant-tuned dipole antenna here. I do all my transmitting on that resonant-tuned dipole antenna, and we have been doing that for the last 6 years. We go around the country as far as receive locations, but we're always transmitting from our antenna here around Louisville, Kentucky. Roger?
Transmitting from our antenna here around Louisville, Kentucky. Roger? Roger. I used to run a dipole at my previous QTH, but just have to kind of engineer a way to put one up here at the new house. But I do want to have the ability to run a dipole and a vertical. And it sounds like you've got quite an antenna farm there in your backyard. That with all the magnetic loops and dipoles, etc. It sounds like you pretty much got the East Coast covered.
Yes, sir. We've got 3 10-foot vertical magnetic loops, one at 0 degrees, one at 90 degrees, and then one at 134 degrees. And I've been playing with that one at 134 degrees and using it as a noise dull loop. And it's really effective. I can get almost 8 dB of noise cancellation by rotating that magnetic loop in a certain direction. And I can, sit there and look on my view meter, like 2 o'clock in the morning where there's nobody on the channel, and I'm just looking for what happens to be noise around the area, and I just rotate that antenna, and I can just see that view meter fall down and then swing out the other side, and then I just bring it back to that null point. So the null ability of a loop antenna is so much more precise than its directionality from the front or back of the loop. It's much tighter nulling than it is forward or backwards, Roger.
Much tighter nulling than it is forward or backwards, Roger. Roger, I can see that. That makes sense. I don't have enough experience on loops, but the people who run them seem to love them because of the adjustability. So I may have to consider something like that in the future. I've only got so much space in the backyard, but I just don't want to get too much back there. The neighbors will think I'm setting up Voice of America.
That's right. Well, I had this guy drop in he was from the AT&T, and he dropped in a fiber optic cable, and I guess he he didn't come from the same pole as my other hardline copper telephone line. He came in from another telephone pole, and it cut across close to the dipole. And I said, well, this is not going to be too good because there's some RF floating around there that would probably maybe get into that. And he says, no, well, not really, because I was concerned more in detuning than anything, and he said, no, because there's no copper in this drop, so those fiber optic cables have no copper shield or nothing, Roger.
Cables have no copper shield or nothing, Roger. Yep, it's a whole different world, Jim. You go back into the 70s like I did when I started. I actually started in the 60s, but let's just say legitimately I started in the 70s, and all of the engineering and all of the learning about wires and coaxial transmission and closed circuit television, and now all of a sudden everything seems to be fiber, and it's better. Even the cars are running fiber, so it just seems like there was a quantum leap, and one that we really needed. And as far as I'm concerned, it's really revolutionized the way these cable companies can send their signals.
Yeah, that's a Roger. But the thing is, on telephone lines, I thought that being fiber optic, I would get a whole lot less latency than hardwire copper, as far as the conversation. But boy, I tell you, even fiber optic, there is a certain delay between one party and the other, and sometimes it's hard to maintain a conversation because they're not hearing you or you're not hearing them because of the latency problem, Roger.
Or you're not hearing them because of the latency problem, Roger. Yeah, you're right. There's enough other electronics in between your fiber cable and wherever the source is that you are going to get some of that latency. I don't know how it would measure out against a true copper wire, but it seems like you've got to have it in there, and there is going to be some built-in latency there.
Yes, sir. So you just have to kind of take your time between, you can't be too tight in response back and forth. You have to just kind of take pauses so the other person can speak, because it's, it's, what is that, simplex, double simplex, I think it is. Simplex, I think it is.
Yeah, I have to fight that problem on a cell phone. There's about a half-second delay for the person on the other end to hear what you said, and on occasion you can get a little bit of a feedback echo that tells you that there's a half-second delay, and that's really surprising considering the microwave towers, etc. But it's there, and whether it's simplex or duplex, it's still there for whatever reason, and it's really irritating to say something, stop talking, and wait for the party on the other end of the cell phone to respond. Kilo 8, Echo Papa Sierra for ID.
Roger. It would just kill you if you were trying to do a telephone interview, because you just could not. It'd be very difficult to get to, the relaxed point, because there's always this thing that you have to watch out for in the back of your mind, and you don't want to be upcutting somebody. But anyway, I guess your audio frequency response, sir, is much better than cell phones. You have a beautiful top end where those cell phones are rolling off on the top. Your audio just is cutting through, Roger.
Rolling off on the top. Your audio just is cutting through, Roger. I sometimes tell people on the radio, you sound more like a cell phone than you do a single side good equalization. And some people get it and some people don't. But yeah, cell phones are trying to work under adverse conditions at sometimes, but I just find it interesting that that digital mode of communications really does have a major limit, more so than the old landline type phones used to have.
Oh, yes, a lot more, because, we used to get, at the radio station, we'd do beeper stuff, and off the, incoming, and it was all copper, and the quality was just amazing, well, within EQ range, anyway, but this fiber optic stuff, and particularly cell phones, starts off with not much top end and gets worse from there, and not even to the point that you could actually hardly EQ it to sound good. So, and that's progress, though, Roger.
Sound good. So, and that's progress, though, Roger. Yeah, that's what they call it. It really has changed over the years, over the decades, Jim, and you've seen massive changes, and so have I. I was doing medical electronics for imaging, like MRs, CTs, cath labs, ultrasounds, all of that, and they started changing the way they would transmit the images, and that brought up a whole new set of problems and issues that we had to deal with. But the more pure the signal, the better off you are, and what you've done with your Vlog is you've helped thousands of people go from whatever came out of the box sounding like mud to having good articulation. You can be very proud of that. I really do appreciate the service that you provide.
Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. I guess it's from the background there, and just expecting more, and that's one of those things. Hopefully, I knew that the radios were capable of it as far as their onboard EQ. You can hype the front to top end, and if you can't make it there, then you can start rolling off the bottom end, but you can find a nice balance to the mid-range. It's just that mid-range has to be flat, so you can have an equal board to be able to bring the top end of the bottom end, but and that's why that mid-range has to be flat. And I think that's what Bob Heil was working on and did do with the 7300 and the 7610. That's a two-band EQ. There's no mid-range. It's a fixed mid-range, and I think that's one of the greatest things that there is, because it just is so simple then to EQ that radio, Roger.
It's so simple then to EQ that radio, Roger. Well, absolutely. It was a brilliant approach. Engineers really like to keep things simple and effective, and what he did was kind of start out with the premise, hey, if I don't have to do anything with the middle, that saves me an awful lot of circuitry and adjustments, and we'll just play with both ends. And it was a brilliant approach. I started reading up on him, probably 10 or 12 years ago, and now I've got this Kenwood TS-890, and it's got an 18-band EQ. But at the heart of it all, when you're running flat in the mid-range, you're using up an awful lot of that EQ just to be at zero, but you do have all that flexibility to kind of slice the carrot very thinly on the top and the bottom end. So, yeah, Bob Heil really did pull off a good engineering coup there, because it's almost so simple that's why nobody ever thought of it before.
Yeah, Roger. And then the part about the electret microphone, Bob has for years had always used dynamic microphones, and just towards the end he started using electret microphones. And electret microphones, in my opinion, are so much more articulated than dynamic microphones. So and I think he found that out right at the end when he did the mic for the ICOM. Gosh, that hand mic is so nice that it would cost you $300 to duplicate that audio response from another mic if you did not use his hand mic for that ICOM, the 7300 and the 7610.
The ICOM, the 7300 and the 7610. I almost went with a 7610. I've been a Kenwood guy forever, and I looked at the 7610 and I looked at the 890 and I thought, well, what the heck. I respected both radios, but being a Kenwood guy, lots of Kenwood gear in the shop here, I'll just go with the Kenwood. But I know I could have been very happy with a 7610, and whenever I hear them, as well as a 7300, you kind of pick them out because there is such a clean audio. And I know that Bob was moving into the electret range, but I have not yet. I may experiment with that someday, but as of right now, I'm just using a dynamic into the Kenwood.
Yeah, Roger. Well, when you do go into that electret, give me a shout, and we'll have to do some EQing on that. Pulling back that top end, because you won't need that much when you run an electret mic. You'll already be 3/4 there, and you'll just have to touch it up just a slight amount, because that's the story of the electret mic. It's just got so much better top end, starting off from scratch over a dynamic. Well, anyway, Eric, gosh, that wraps it up for us. I want to say 73 to you. I hope you have a great afternoon and a beautiful weekend. If you want to hear our audio, if you go to YouTube and do that call letter search for KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook, will be bring up this recording. It'll be cut number 1 in a series of 3100, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow. Roger.
3100, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow. Roger. Roger, Jim. Again, I really appreciate it, and I will visit your site tomorrow, because I always look forward to hearing my audio to see the fruits of your labor. And I will get in touch with you when I want to experiment with an electret. You're the first guy I'm coming to. So, once again, thanks so much, Jim. Good weekend for you. I heard you say you're not going to be participating in Field Day Madness, and I probably just listen a little until I get disgusted, and then I'll bail. So we'll try to get through the weekend the best we can. So, KC9VKV, this is Kilo 8 Echo Papa Sierra 73. Have a good weekend, Jim. Thanks a lot.
Roger, Eric, 73, sir. You have a great afternoon, beautiful weekend. And with that all being said, we got to get out of here and make room for return the frequency back to normal amateur radio use. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor, the Qso-Vlog network, and we'll be clear.